Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Are you ready for the show? Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everard's, Pucka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hologram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newbie and Co-Estate Agents. We want your views, we want your comments, so join us live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, welcome to Leicester Fan TV. My name's Phil, we are live. Well, I say we're live. If you're watching this live, we're live. We are trying to, as ever, stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope. I think a lot of you know, feels like Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and all that has gone kaput. So we are definitely live on YouTube. Welcome to the show. For those of you on YouTube, perhaps some of you have transferred over and watching it here for the first time, rather than watching it on Facebook. Wherever you are, get your views in, get your comments in, and we have got so much to talk about. It's a shame we're not live on Facebook as well tonight. I've got all smartly dressed up tonight because I think we need to talk a little bit seriously about what is going on at Leicester City tonight. So I want your comments in there. Derek, good evening to you. How are you? Renee, how are you? Bab Tuned, have I said that right? What a profile picture that is. Good evening to you. Hayley has transferred over. She's watching from YouTube tonight instead of Facebook. Russ, good evening. David, thank you. Looking dapper. Do you know what, David? I am looking serious. That's what it is. Thank you very much, Hayley. That is good. Now, listen, we've got a lot to talk about today. We want to talk about what is going on at Leicester City. So I want your views. I want your comments. Where do you want to start with what is going on at the club at the moment? Is it time to panic or is it not time to panic? That's my question to you. That's what I want to know tonight. Do we panic yet or do we not? For me, it's keep calm a little bit, but there is a lot to talk about. So I want to know your views and your comments on it. Listen, I'm going to put a few stats up here for you to react to and think about. We've won 25 points from the last 20 games. That's Premier League games, back end of last season and the start of this season. 25 points from 20 games. Now that, as you can quite clearly tell, is certainly not top four, certainly not even top six stats. It's what cost us at the end of last season, Champions League for the second year running. A lot of Leicester fans sort of pushed that one aside and said, look, maybe we're not quite good enough for Champions League. 2 years on the trot, we did bottle Champions League position on the last day. I'll remind you that last season we were playing Spurs with about 14 minutes to go and we were 2-1 up in the Champions League. We managed to lose 4-2. We really did. Forget everything else. Last season, we were about 15 minutes away from the Champions League at home against an inferior side to us last season, and we messed it up. 25 points from 20 games. Obviously, you know where we are at the moment, 7 points this season. What do you think to that? Let's get your comments in. Let's see what you've got. Jack, good evening to you. What is your take on it at the moment, Jack? I want to know what you think to this. Matty says relegation form. Do you know what, Matty? I'm full of stats for tonight. Normally, I don't come full of stats, but do you know what, Matty? We are averaging in the last 18 games, sorry, the last 15 games, we're averaging 1.2 points per game, which, if I tally that up for you, Matt, is 45 points. It's not quite relegation form. The last 15 games, it's not quite relegation form. Is this to do? No, it's the serious image, Jono. Thanks for watching. Thanks for switching over from Facebook. This is Serious Phil with some serious views for tonight. So look, yeah, I've got the old Leicester City tie on here, my badge. And I want to know what you think to it. Crispy says, I still think there's something behind the scenes going on that the fans aren't aware of. Crispy, I want to know more about what you think on that. I honestly want to know what you think on that. Does it go back to the COVID party? Normally, I don't prepare for these, but today, look, I've done my prep work. That COVID party was the weekend before the West Ham game, which was on April the 11th. 2021. It was this year, the COVID party, the week before that. There's so much going on there. Rodgers, on that party, apparently urged the players to leave the party. The players turned the lights off and hid. The party was tried to be closed down, and then they packed up and went off from Perez's house, allegedly, to Hamza Chowdhury's house in taxis. Rodgers, this is a quote from Brendan Rodgers on that. It says, my objective coming to Leicester was to create a standard on and off the pitch, and this fell way below what was expected, especially at the time of the season when we were challenging. He goes on to say, this is a quote I've got from Brendan Rodgers, and it says, the timing is not ideal, but that is how strongly I felt. That's in referring to the fact that he dropped players for the West Ham game. He says, I decided not to fine them. The punishment was missing the game. They knew what the consequence was, and now we draw a line. They rejoin the squad and we prepare for the next weekend. The next weekend being the FA Cup. But Crispy says, does it start from that? Here's another stat for you. Let's put another stat on here, and I want to know what you think to that. Maddison, where is it? Not the last 19 games, Maddison has not scored a goal or made an assist in 19 games. What is that all about? If we're moneyballing this, if you've seen the film Moneyball, if you do the stats, Maddison is all about making goals and popping up with the odd goal. What is going on with Maddison? If you just look at the stats, you watch it, I watch it, we know something's not right with Maddison. Is he injured? Does he not feel it? What is it? But that is a stat there. He has not had a goal or assist in the last 19 games. Now, if you've got that sort of stats, you can see why he's being dropped. Is there something going on behind the scenes? Let's get some more of your comments in there. We look like a team of individuals, don't look fit enough, can't do the basics. Defence is awful. This is Ben saying this. Can't even make simple 5-yard passes, don't create anything. Weak mentality in this side. Ben, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Let's get a few more comments on. Russ says get rid of the zonal marking at set pieces. It doesn't work. I've spoke with Walshy about that before, live on Leicester Fan TV. He agrees with you all. It doesn't work. It causes lots of confusion, which at the moment we don't need. A lot of people say just play 4-4-2, and then we know where we're all at. Reedy, thanks, Reedy. Don't forget, join Reedy on Friday nights. He says, no, we're having issues. And I think with that form, what Brendan Rodgers said after the game today, he knows the issues and wants to find a way to play 2 strikers and other quality players to work the system. That's interesting from Reedy. Rene says, it's not Rodgers' fault, it's players' fault. They're not perform well. Rene, you could well be right there. But listen, I want to ask you a question, Rene. Did the players turn it off to get Ranieri the sack? My opinion of that is they did. The players who won the Premier League decided for whatever reason that they wanted to turn it off and got Ranieri the sack in that second season. Are they doing it again now? I'm just a question. Ross says, love the suit. You're applying for the Watford job. Yeah, hey, I'm not applying for any jobs, but it's serious tonight, Ross. We're taking it serious. I think we're in that zone now where we've got to take it seriously. LCFC Gray says, I think the confidence that is shot, and we're scared to attack because of losing the ball and cannot defend. Jono says, I'm going for an interview down at Seagrave. Get in to get us. Do you know what? I think I could pull it off. I'll tell you what, I just talk a load of nonsense, as you lot know. Derek says we need a new defensive coach. Agreed about Ranieri. You see, they definitely down tools for Ranieri, and to be fair, for Shaky at times, and Pearson, so it has happened. Crispy says, also, I think the players are getting complacent with the medals and trophies. The players have the feeling that they're a bit of success, can lay back and chill. Oh, so much to talk about. Who put this on? Ben. I'm going back to Ben's comment here. Let's get Ben's on. And then Tom is waiting to come in. I'm going to get Tom in a minute. Ben put on here, and I can't find it, but his stat is, he was talking about passes. And I just want to get this on before I get Tom on. Soyuncu has had 440 passes this season, which is the 3rd highest of any player in the Premier League. Now, I'm going to ask Tom about Soyuncu, because for me, the person who should have the ball the most and making all those passes is surely your quarterback, your creative person. I'd love to see Tielemans stats, and I'd love to see Tielemans stats of how many passes completed, because yesterday was not great. But Soyuncu, as far as I know, is a defender. But to have the most passes in the season, what do you think to that? It just sounds, well, it tells you what we can all see, that it's Soyuncu to Vestergaard to Soyuncu to Casper, to Soyuncu to Castagna, etc. Let's have Tom in. Are you ready, Tom?
Good evening.
Tom, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Look at us, we've got matching backgrounds.
It's amazing.
Not even planned. Listen, Tom, where do you want to start?
Can we start the season again? Can we just stop the season, rewind, and start again, and forget the injuries we had, and Fafana can come back fit and ready to go. Justin's fit and ready to go. Where do we start? You talk about the sideway backwards passing football. It was the same in the club, well, and you all got on his back very quickly. There's not much change on how we play football from what Claude was playing to what Rodgers plays. The only difference is at times last season we moved the ball 10 times quicker than we did under the Claude, and it caused problems. This season, we've not moved the ball quick enough around the park. Injuries have not helped the situation. Panic buys for me. We spent 50 million on Vestergaard. We should have just spent another 15 million, put 30 out on the table for James Tarkowski at Burnley and gone and done the deal. What they've been crying out for 2 seasons now. If that's the player that Rodgers wanted, go and sign him up. I know that there's not a bottomless end of money as we keep talking about.
There isn't, Tom. Tom, sorry to put in there, but you're saying how much do you think Tarkowski really would have cost us?
I think 30 million. I think if you'd put 30, 35 maximum on the table, Burnley would have taken it with 1 year left on his contract. He's free next year. Burnley
Tom,
would have taken that.
We had 30 million in the summer because we've spent 25 on Daka, and how much was Sumere?
About 20,
17, 20.
17, 18, something like that.
So that's 45 million that's sort of on the bench.
Well, exactly. And for some reason, as I said in my review today, that can't understand why we've signed Daka if you're not going to give him the chance in the Premier League. Is he literally only going to be played in Europe because he's played in that competition before? If that's the case, then it's a farcical of another transfer window that we're not having confidence in a player. Look, Daka should have scored against Walsall. The ball over the top for Maddis was brilliant. His first touch is brilliant, and then he scuffs the shot. I think a goal, if that goal counts against Napoli, he's a different player and he scores that goal for me. He just needs that goal to get himself going. But look, Daka for me needs to be given Premier League time. Yesterday's substitutions we could go into if you want, Phil. If we're going to talk about the game yesterday, I probably understood why we took Hamza off 60 minutes. Hasn't played a single game of football this season for some reason. So he probably was tiring a little bit at that point. So, and if I'm honest, the Samari coming on was for me a change I think we needed to. But it was because I felt we were getting beaten in the air every single time in midfield because they were outdoing us with Tillemans and Hamza in the height category. So I can understand that one a little bit, but it's the one before the second goal. You're just conceded. You can see we're a nervous wreck at the back. So either take off a mid attacker and bring on another central defender and go 3 at the back, really try and block that area off where they were getting the balls into by bringing on Amate and sticking to a back 3, going to back 5 with the wing backs. If that means then you have to bring off Harvey Barnes and leave Vardy and Nacho up front, do that because, if to be honest, Barnes didn't have the greatest of games yesterday.
He didn't have a good game at all, did he? He had a bad game. Tom.
He set the goal up, but the biggest chance in the game and the turning point for me was the chance in the second half. The same chance he had against Napoli, he takes it wide of the defender, but he scored in the game against Napoli because he went across the goalkeeper. And I cried at the telly when I did it. I was shouting across the goalkeeper, do what you did against Napoli. But he goes for the tight angle for me there, and I don't get that. You've done it against Napoli. You saw the result. It went in the bottom corner. At least if you put it across the goalkeeper and he makes a save and parries out, Vardy and Nacho were both standing near enough in front of the goal to have a tap-in or get a chance of a tap-in. I'm not blaming all on Barnes yesterday, but there's questions got to be asked about Rodgers' substitutions at the moment. And I know we're light in some areas, like central defence. We haven't really got any options, bar Benkovic, who I'd still give a run out at the moment because Vestergaard turned slower than the Titanic ever turned, and he didn't turn that much, the Titanic. The biggest thing for me, and I said it against Walsall, we look more static than a static caravan at the moment. There's no movement. There's no movement in the park. They get the ball, they look up, and everyone's just standing there, looking around going, oh, am I meant to move? Last year, we were moving, we were passing, it was fluid. Saturday, 4-4-2, did it work? Not really, because of one reason only. The midfield and the strikers were too far apart. There was too big a gap in that area for the balls to go through to. And if we're going to, talk about the defence and defenders, Sionchu's been stitched up for me this year. Yes, he's not playing that well, but he does not look comfortable on the right side of defence. He's played 2 seasons, left-hand side of Johnny, and he looks a world beater because he looks comfortable on the left. He reads the game well on the left, playing with Cassagna or James Justin, who's played there for some reason. Stick him on the right-hand side, and he just does not look comfortable on that right foot, having to use that as his main foot to clear the ball with. He's left-footed, and we've basically brought in Vestergaard and basically said, Sancho, you're playing on the right-hand side, even though you're not comfortable there. So,
Jack, Tom, I want a few things here. I'm going to get a few comments on, and then I'm going to. Crispy says, I think the players are getting complacent with the medals and trophies. Sean asked me on yesterday after the match, who came on, and he said, what would you think of Brendan Rodgers and the team had we not won the FA Cup and therefore on the Community Shield, but we did win it? I want to ask you, Tom, on this. I actually did some prep work, which is unusual for me for one of these shows, but I did look back at the stats, and I did take it back to the COVID party. Jono says here, maybe the COVID party was the start, but we won the FA Cup and the Charity Shield, which should have repaired any issues from that. And somebody else goes on to say here, let me just get their comment on here. Hayden says, I think Leicester players are not performing to get Rodgers sacked. Now, I don't want to be mongering and all that sort of nonsense, Tom, but that COVID party, I was rereading about the COVID party and Brendan Rodgers' quotes, and they're official quotes from him. And I've also been told stuff on the hearsay about that party. It wasn't 4 or 5 people round a house, Tom. Apparently, allegedly, it was quite a big bash. Has that broken some sort of trust? Do we feel? And how do you explain Maddison being top of the dogs and assists and everybody on Match of the Day talking about him, and then he's not made a goal or an assist in 19 games, Tom? And I believe Nacho's been involved in 22 goals, either an assist or a goal in that same period. And yet,
look, the COVID party was a shambles. The club, for me, handled it wrong completely, if I'm honest about it.
I don't remember any apologies, Tom.
No, I think the club got it wrong massively. Brendan and the club swept it under the carpet quite quickly to just say, oh, well, they've been told and they know where they stand. That's not good enough. And we all knew the times have been hard for everybody. And it doesn't matter about what money you got. I'm sick of seeing people putting on Twitter about Perez eating a £600 steak. What he wants to do in his time is up to him, in my point of view. Same with Maddison last week. He went to the boxing. He got slated for going to the boxing.
He's allowed to go.
He's out of time. If people want to go and do stuff out there at working time, fine. There's no issue for that. And yes, he spent 600 on a steak. I'd love to spend 600 on a steak. He's a wealthy man. He can afford it. Get on with it. It's just being petty. The COVID party was a different scenario because we had all been stuck in our houses for 18 months by this point. Well, a year, close to a year, 14 months. We'd all been stuck in our houses, not been able to do anything, not been able to go to games. And 3 footballers took it upon themselves. And Wes Morgan, I'm not going to just slate Madders and Perez. Wes Morgan, the captain, who should know a lot better, went to this party as well and made a massive mistake. And I do feel you're right in some ways that the rest of the squad might have not taken it too well. The likes of
it cost us Champions League.
Yeah, well,
because the day after West Ham we lost, and if we'd have got a draw, we would have made it.
We're only presuming here. We're not saying this is facts. But if I was one of the players in that dressing room and this had happened, the first thing I'm thinking about is, 1, is COVID. 2, is that I've got a family back at home, and now I've got to be around these people or teammates of mine that have been around 10, 20 people who one of them might have had COVID and get it, and then I could get it and take it back into my family. So there's a trust thing there straight away, considering they knew the rules, and so the games could go ahead, that they had to separate from anybody. You go to your training, you go home. You can go to the shops, that is it. But no, they took it upon themselves to have a party and basically go against all their teammates, bar 4, was it? I think in total 5, who thought they were better than everyone else. If you look at it now, I think the changing room's probably changed a bit. If you look at senior players left in there, there's really only Casper and Vards and Johnny. You know, you've lost the leadership in Fuchs, who are everyone laughs, but now you think maybe one more year might have been a massive for the club with the way certain people have performed in the last couple of games. And as for Wes, yeah, we knew his time was up. His body was telling him that, the amount of injuries he had had. But, you know, you've lost two big leaders and two big characters who made sure that people were kept in check most of the time by Wes making a massive mistake. So I think the COVID thing has hit the players because ever since that one, really, going into that game, form was out the window. Re your point with Maddison, this isn't just down to the COVID. He was flying like this time last year. The whole team were flying. They were winning games for fun. We were going into games confidence. We're flying. We didn't look like conceding goals. And then he got the injury. And for some unknown reason, he's never come back anywhere near the sharpness, the fitness. Bar 10 minutes against Leicester Walsall the other night, where fair play, he did look better than he'd done all season. But this injury has just hampered him. I don't think he's fully fit. I really don't. Every time he seems to get kicked, he goes down and holds the ankle again, where he's had this problem, like where he jarred it against Villa, I think it was, and then he was out for a long period of time. If you look at Vards, mate, Vards, when he did his gluten, how long did it take him to really get back to fitness again? It took him a good 6 months before we started seeing the Vardy of old. I just think he's not recovered from this injury properly. And look, I'm sorry that this boo-hoo modelling crap, I'm going to say it, utter crap, they've got to stop it. Like, seriously, you're here to play football. If you want to be a model, be a model. If you want to be a professional footballer who's getting 80 to 100 grand a week, good money, do you really need to model to earn extra cash? I personally don't think they do. You're paid to be a professional footballer. Why do you need to do all these extra bits? You've got your boot deal from Adidas or Puma. What's going to be a nice little bit of income as well. You get whatever you get from the England, from their international sponsorship deals. These are wealthy men. I don't understand why they need to go out and model even more than they do now.
Well, because they want to.
Of course, but you understand my point of view. Why?
No,
Why?
I do. Yeah.
They don't need it financially.
No.
You can't sit here and go, it's better money. But you don't need it. I need the more money than he does, and you need the money probably more than Maddison does. But
Tom, I hate to spoil your illusions, Tom, but I don't think me and you are going to get any boo-hoo deals anytime soon. Maybe I was thinking M&S suits, maybe, Tom, I might be able to pull off tonight, but I don't know.
I thought you'd just come out of school, be honest, mate, in that uniform.
Serious suit for serious topics tonight, Tom. Let's get a few fans' comments up here and see what people are saying. Andy, we've been saying this since Cambiasso left. We said we need a midfield general who throws punches. Maybe not punches, but somebody. I agree, Andy. We need somebody who takes control. I don't see Casper. I see Casper trying it, but it's hard to influence from the keepers. Jamie Vardy leads by example, but don't see anybody in the middle of that midfield. And Ndidi's not that type of player. Sumer is not. Maddison's not. Tillem's not.
We let him go.
Ibora, yeah. But apparently couldn't hack it. But I always thought he looked all right. James says, I'm not being funny. Fuchs would offer us so much more than Bertrand. Again, Bertrand's another debate. Martin says here, we need to sign Martin Hitterreger from Frankfurt as a new centre-back to play alongside. Forget signings. We can't sign anybody at the moment. We've got to deal with what we've got now. LCFC Grace says we need to be much better and focused or we'll be in serious trouble. The next two games are very difficult, which they are, and we can't beat lower sides at the moment. Fee says, as I said yesterday, Madders is Beckham's brother from another father. Listen, it's all right doing your boo-hoos and all these other bits when it's working on the pitch. When it's not, I think you need to concentrate on the pitch side. Flipping Eck says, I feel we're going to come into some serious form eventually, and I'm looking forward to it. Right now, it's a confidence issue for me. That's all.
I agree on that. I do think it will come. I honestly do. There's too much talent in that squad for us to be sitting 14th in the Premier League after 7 games with the teams that we played. And if you go through this,
it's not been a hard start, Tom.
No, and if you go through the 7 games and look at the points, well, we were lucky against Wolves because if Traore turned up and scored first, I think we probably lose against them. Second half, they battered us. Then we played West Ham and got battered. We then played Norwich, was it? And
Norwich and a bit of VAR at the end helped us out.
We got lucky against them, really. We didn't really smash them, did we? And in fairness, other teams have beaten them comfortably. Then we played Man City at home, was probably been the best performance of the season.
Yeah, agreed.
I'd say we were unlucky against them. Again, one of those take your chances first, like Barnes in first half and second half when he should have scored at least one of those chances. The games against Napoli, I thought first half we were all right. We held ourselves in that game. We defended soddenly enough. You get the couple of goals, but once again, one goal goes in and the confidence is drained out of the team, and it was a matter of time before they equalised. We then played. Who do we play after that?
After when?
After Napoli, we went away to Brighton. Again, confidence. We looked absolutely short of paying to pass the ball, the same as yesterday. You go 2-0 down before we start playing. Again, the second half probably was up there with one of the better halves of football we've done this season, if I'm honest about it. But it took us to go 2-0 down before we started playing. And again, probably robbed of a point for VIR one's decisions. Then beat Millwall. We made a slog of that game, really, until the latter stages. Then we played Burnley at home. And once again, it's all about taking the chances for me. Vardy has the perfect chance after 8 minutes with a header that he misses. And I'm not going to slate Vardy because he's been brilliant this season for me. 34 and he's still making terrorising Premiership defences for fun. Was it 20 shots on goal, 20 shots, 6 goals? That's not a bad return, really, for someone who's played 7 games this season. And then we go to Walsall. I can't even really talk about it. It was absolutely awful. No, we looked comical at the back. We created a few chances, but once again, we didn't take them. Perez has to score one of the chances he has in that game. And then you go to the weekend and it was flat as a pancake, mate. At bar first 5-6 minutes when we had a chance again with a header from Vards and Vestergaard had another header he completely fluffed for a 6'7" defender. He should be scoring that header for me. The performance yesterday was the worst I'd seen in a long, long time. And we've had some poor performances in the last few, since March time, April time. But that yesterday was trosh, absolute trosh, mate, for me.
Let's get a few comments in here, Tom. Jason says, look at the quality of players we have out injured. That calibre of player missing from any side has an effect. And somebody else put in here about, I'll try and find it, about obviously missing Fofana and Evans, a massive miss. It just is a massive miss that they're not there, as is, of course, James Justin. And it would make a difference. But listen, they are out. Tom, players who were on the fringes, Ricardo Pereira, is he fit? Is he out of form? Why? Because I'm not raving over Bertrand as we sit here at all. Why is...
I think Timmy gets a nod on his defensive ability more.
Why are we not playing Castagna and Ricardo Pereira?
I just feel that he feels Ricardo doesn't offer enough down the left-hand side. But Timmy's better on the right. If you look at where Timmy's created the goals, he's always better on the right-hand side.
But he's playing Bertrand as a fullback.
Yeah, but I think if I look at all the games so far this season... But
you say Bertrand is better than Pereira?
I'm not saying he's better, but what I'm saying is both Timmy Castagna and Ricardo Pereira are right-footed players. And we've seen when we've played Ricardo on the left, how much of an impact it has on his game. He can't bomb forward and get the crosses into the box because he has to take that touch and cut inside. And it's the same with Timmy. They both are more comfortable on the right-hand side. If I look at Ryan Bertrand so far in this season, bar the last 2 performances, I generally think he hasn't been that bad. But the performance against Burnley, he looked a bit shaky. And the performance yesterday, it wasn't just him in the back line. Like I said, yesterday, I thought Castagna, Vardy, Nacho, and Lookman were the only ones who come out with any credit yesterday.
But Crispy says here, Tom, didn't we sign Castagna to replace Ben Chilwell at the start of the 2021 season?
No, I don't think we did. I think James Justin...
We sold Ben Chilwell.
James Justin was the one to slot in that position for me. I think James Justin wanted to slot in, and I think they brought in Castagna to play right, and I think they brought in Pereira to push forward. And I think that's what Brendan Rodgers wanted to do. If he's
play Castagna and Pereira both on the right,
and he has done a few times last year. But I think this now he's realised that he's got to have a bit more creativity sometimes, and that's why Lookman's come in. And look, Lookman's been a star signing for me. What a player he looks! Some of the stuff he was doing yesterday.
Who's that? Sorry, Tom.
Lookman. Some of the stuff he was doing yesterday, he was skinning players for fun. But again, there was no movement. You could see his frustration during the game that there was no movement around him to pass the ball to. He was like looking up, he wants to give and go. You can see what he wants. He wants to pass and run in behind and get the ball back again. But he's looking for the pass and no one was there. He's got 3 Palace players standing around him, and the Leicester players are so scared of bombing forward at the moment that he hadn't got an option to move it. Then he has to try and take 2-3 players on, and sadly he was losing it because of that situation for me yesterday.
Tom, cheers for the £5,
Thank
$5, whatever it is. You don't need to do that, Highbury. You don't need to pay. We'll put the comments on anyway, but much appreciated. But he says, don't we have any decent defenders in the under-23s? We've got Benkovic. I can't even be bothered to talk about Benkovic because he's clearly not going to play. Why did Rodgers not start Kelechi Iheanacho since the start of the season? He has his favourites for various in sundry reasons, which sort of goes against our COVID party debate because he does seem to like to play Madders and Perez and these sorts of players. But before we get, Matty says JJ was bought for the future. He did only come in because of his injury, but he did take his chance brilliantly.
It's brilliant, absolute brilliant. JJ was for me.
I want to go back. Ross put a comment in here, Tom. Next 5 league games. I can't see us, if I'm honest, the way we're playing, Man United and Cristiano Ronaldo are going to do that. It's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. Brentford away are on fire. Arsenal are on reasonable form. Leeds are lower than us, but heck, at the moment, I don't fancy playing Leeds lower than us.
Chelsea.
And Chelsea. Ross asks Tom, in the next 5 league games, how many points will we realistically get? How many? Just give us a number, Tom. 5
4
games. You think we'll get 4 points?
Yeah, 4.
Which would put us on 11 points after 5 out of 7, 12 games.
Mm-hmm.
That is close to relegation battle. That is relegation battle form.
Unless something happens over the international break and what Rodgers can get a tune out of this team, but like you say, without the players like Ndidi is now going to be out for 4 or 5 weeks or so, and it's a big shoes to fill because Hamza he did a job yesterday, but against the better teams they'll just tear him apart. Sadly, I love Hamza Chowdhury. I love the enthusiasm. I love his work rate. I love that he's aggressive, but against better players, mate, he'll just get torn apart.
But we've got a lot of people watching now. Because obviously Facebook's down tonight, so it's great everybody's come over to YouTube. How many points, if you're watching this, how many points do you think? Let's answer Ross. How many points will we get in the next 5 games? I want to know in your comments. Please put in how many points you think we'll get. Let's add that up. Because Tom, I would argue to you, if we got your 4 points and put us on 11 after 12 games, I think Rodgers is in trouble if we've only picked up 4 points out of those 5 games.
Massive problems. And
let's see.
Pressure starts to build. But look, I don't want Rodgers to go. He's the most successful manager we've had since Ranieri. 2 Fish Place finishes, the Community Shield. And you can't live off that. I accept that, but I think he probably deserves a little bit more time than the next 5 games. Even if it was only 4 points, I still think these demands to take us forward. He was taking us in the right directions. We're having a bit of a blip. I know he had the same kind of thing in his 3rd season at Liverpool, but I generally feel if you're going to get rid of him, who do you bring in? Because honestly, we're going in. If you want to go back to the doldrums of a solid defence but smash it forward, then bring in Sam Allardyce. You know what I mean? That's where you go back to. But if you want to continue in the way that Rodgers is trying to get us to play from, and it was working, it proved it. It was working at times for the first 2 seasons, up to the last third of the season, when I think fitness levels we completely went and things didn't go our way, and we missed out on Champions League twice. But it's one of those for me. I think Rodgers deserves a lot more time in the charge. And if he gets, look, don't get me wrong, if we start getting to January and we're a couple of points of relegation zone, then you'd be thinking, what the hell is going on if you're top and the owners? Where do we go now? We're January and we're a couple of points clear of relegation.
I like what LCFC Gray's put there, Tom. He's put, we're not going to cope with Ivan Toney, let alone Ronaldo.
Potter. But again, with Potter leaves Brighton, if Brighton are higher up in the league to come to Leicester.
Tom, listen, I don't want to talk about who might replace Brendan Rodgers because that is not what today's about. I think today is definitely about trying to work out what, like we put on here at the banner, and this was a question I asked you at the start. What is going on at City? It's from a fan's point of view. We're obviously conjecturing and looking at various things, everybody's got their opinions. We all want Brendan Rodgers to sort it out. We all want the players to sort it out because clearly, Tom, the last 2 seasons we finished 5th in the league. Clearly, this bunch of players, and we sold nobody big this summer. We only added to the side. Clearly, this bunch of players, Tom, is good enough to be in the top 6 or 7 or 8 or top 5, and so is the manager. So something has happened, or is going on.
Something's happened. We don't know that for me because you don't just change the way you play. And look, injuries.
There's no spark, Tom. There's no sparkle.
That's the biggest thing, mate, for me. There's the confidence is completely gone. And for me, I was concerned in pre-season. Some of the performances I saw in pre-season, were the signs of where's this fluid football gone? Because we weren't playing the fluid football in pre-season, let alone that first game against Wolves. My biggest concern is, and I've said it the last couple of games, I think for me, is Rodgers' interviews do not fill you with confidence.
No.
Because it's the same old spiel. What I like about Timmy Castagno, he was beautifully honest on his Instagram. He was beautiful after the Burnley game and said, this ain't good enough. And again at the weekend, he said it's not good enough. We cannot carry on doing this and giving teams leads or mucking up leads in football. Barnes came out and said it yesterday. We weren't good enough. Simple as that. This is not good enough from what we're doing. But you come to Brendan and it's the same old, yeah, but in parts we were okay. But, we can't, we defensively we weren't good enough. What do we do on the training pitch? I know we're missing Fofana and Johnny Evans, and hopefully John will be back after the international break. We can pray for that. I don't get why Johnny played at Millwall. I really don't. I'm sorry. That was a massive mistake. If he was fit, keep him for the weekend. I don't want him seeing playing against Millwall. I want to see Benkovic playing against Millwall in the cup. If you're going to put the teams out, if Evans is fit enough to play for against Millwall, then keep him for the weekend against Brighton when we needed him in a bigger game to get the points. Weird situation, mate. Weird situation. It's just something isn't clicking at the moment between the players for some reason. But
David says here, he says, what fans want to see is effort. I want to see those guys play their hearts out and throw themselves into tackles, bomb forward and feed off a collective energy. Now we run around looking terrible. Tom, I want to put this on screen for you. Where is #fearless? Where's it gone? Because that was what we thrived off for years. The banner seems to have literally gone, Fearless Foxes, and it seems like it's timid mice at the moment or something out there. It's like there doesn't look much guts and gusto out there. There doesn't look much, I don't know. Trying to put a finger on it, Tom.
I get, like I say, he's one of those, man. The fearlessness is completely gone. And there's no one out there. You go on that pitch and go. Last season, when we were playing the fluid football, that everyone feared playing Leicester because they were scared that if they made one mistake, they'd get outpassed or get outmoved. The game against Arsenal a couple of years ago when we beat them at home 2-0, people were raving about the way Leicester were playing. We were playing like an old Arsenal team, pass, move, tippy-tappy football, which was good on the eye. But again, I go back to the point I said about a minute ago. The pre-season, this football wasn't there then. And all the pre-season, the Wigan game I went to was awful. Burton, we watched together, mate. It was awful. There was no fluidity then in this team. And look, there's no, hiding about it, an excuse to say, oh, well, there's new players. The team train every single day in a multi-million-pound brand new complex, state-of-the-art facilities. They shouldn't have anything to moan about going into games about how we need to play with each other. Again, formation-wise, everyone keeps talking about keeping this 4-4-2. For me, the 4-4-2 didn't work yesterday on the reasons that, one, Tielemans has to sit in the middle of the park, then he can sit deeper when he's got Ndidi next to him and get the ball because he knows he's got Ndidi and one other in front of him. So either Nacho has to play that number 10 role. Well, he can do, I think. It doesn't suit him cup of tea, but he can play that number 10 role, and then you have your 4-2-3-1 formation, what Brendan likes to play. Or you go to 5 at the back. What I thought he was going to play for Monastir after playing it in the midweek. I thought playing the 3 in midfield, 3 at the back against Walsall, he would have, he would have probably played it at the weekend. But there's too much chopping and changing. We were playing good football last year because we kept the same team week in, week out, and at the moment, we just can't even do that.
Last one, really, Tom. I mean, keep getting your comments coming in, but we have already overrun. Ben says here, and I've spoke to Chris from Redmen TV, which is the big Liverpool fanzine, about Brendan Rodgers, and I've talked to him off the record about it, and he said pretty much what Ben's saying. He's saying, Ben says, my worry is that what's happening now is very similar to how it all ended for Brendan at Liverpool, history repeating itself with him. Now, Redmen TV said to me, they said that third year he got stuck in his ways, and the fans were crying out for different things to be tried, and he kept repeating the same things and would not change things. And again, we've seen that we've certainly seen it with Brendan, that he is like that. He's got this system. Substitutions on yesterday, Tom, were all like for like, which, as you said, at 2-1 up with Maddison coming on, I'm not getting why we make that decision, because either you defend it or you attack it. But it just felt a strange one to use a sub on the 70th minute when Nacho must be fit enough to play more than 70 minutes. And
I don't think there's any fitness-wise. I don't think there was a fitness-wise. I think it was Brendan doing his, I've got to change something, but he didn't change it in the right areas. You know, for me, you've just conceded a goal and you're not nervous, then put another defender on and try and, shore the back up and look where the mistakes are happening and block them, the areas, or bring another midfielder on, but a defensive midfielder. Even if he'd left Hamza on and brought in Sumer, gone 4-5-1 and left Vardy up top on his own, at least he would have still had the pace of Lookman and Barnes around him to play off him. But then he made the next sub and bringing off Lookman again, and bringing on Albrighton at 2-2, and it's like, well, hold a minute, we need a goal to win this game. We're not happy with the point, Brendan. We've gone 2-2. We were 2-0 up in this game, and for someone put about sacking Rodgers, he mad. Me and Phil are not saying sack Rodgers. I can guarantee you that now.
No.
I'm more than happy what Brendan can do, and I'm more than happy to justify that Brendan will turn this round. We're asking the question tonight is, why has it gone dramatically wrong at the beginning of this season? And you can't just blame injuries, because we had injuries last season and we still managed up to the last couple of months to be in and around the top 4. So that's the question we're asking. But look, we're getting to the end of this one now, but massive game against Man U, Phil, now for me. And we need to get some practice in how to defend, because Ronaldo, Sancho, Greenwood are going to be licking their lips. And look, they're not in the best of form at the moment either. They've had some dodgy performances. They could have easily could have lost at the weekend. Yeah, but they could have lost at the weekend, mate. If you look at the highlights, yes. Tom Davies is unselfish for me, where he got in the middle of the park and should be shooting in 18 yards from goal, and he passes it, and the Yalamina is offside. They win the game 2-1, and Man U've lost. It's one of those. They are still weak at the back for me, Man U. I don't care about them signing a French international defender. They've lost Maguire now. They still look a bit dodgy at the back. So we will get our chances against Man U. But again, like we've done all season, you've got to take those chances when they've come.
Tom, thanks so much for joining us. Honestly, I think we could talk for another hour, but we're already 15 minutes overrun. Thanks for getting your views in tonight, Tom. It's been brilliant. There's no prediction show this week because there's no matches, obviously.
On the beach this week.
You have a rest. We'll see you a week on Thursday, if not sooner.
Cheers, Phil. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Tom. As ever, Tom talks so much sense. He talks way more sense than me. He's better football than me. I just talk a load of nonsense. But listen, thanks for all your comments. Let's get the last few up there. Sidon, this is United will spank us. I actually, it's Leicester. I quite expect us to beat Man United, if I'm honest. Lily says, we just want to see a performance. I think you're right there with that. Ross says his job will be in question if we don't pick up points in the next 5 league games in there. Jason says it shouldn't even be in question, though. That's why it's being put out there. Martin says he thinks we'll win 3-1 against Man United in the next match in there. Daniel says maybe we're all overthinking it too much for us. Sidon says their attack is too much for our rubbish defence. Cristiano Ronaldo against Vestergaard and Soyuncu at the moment, mate. I don't want to think about it, to be fair. Andrew says Brendan will get sacked within our next 3 games. Andrew says, serious attire, Andy, for a serious topic tonight. Listen, it has been absolute pleasure. Thanks for all of you who've joined us here on YouTube. Apologies if you've had to come over from Facebook. Not our fault. Facebook has gone down. It's gone absolutely bust. Don't forget, wherever you are watching at Leicester Fan TV is where you follow us. If you're watching here on YouTube, like loads of you are, please subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, thanks to all the guys who help bring us the content. But most of all, thanks for you lot for your views and comments. Tomorrow night, what is going on? Jack is live with our WSL, the Leicester City Women's show. Follow what is going on with Leicester City Women with Jack tomorrow, 7:30. Then Wednesday night, Jack is doing another Fan Zone show. He's going to be reviewing where we are up after 7 games in the season. So if we didn't quite get it in there tonight, come and join Jack Wednesday, 7:30. So much to talk about there. Thank goodness there's a bit of a break until Man United. I think we all need it. I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everard's, Pucka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hologram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newbie & Co. Estate Agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.